Rehmann. Empower your purpose.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our One Question With series. Today, we're joined with Elizabeth Williams, who is Head of HR Solutions here at Rehmann. And we're going to be digging into some content, into some insight around HR, what that means for your organization, and a question that you guys need to be keeping in mind when thinking about HR in today's market and environment. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're excited to hear from you.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dig into this one question. And this question that we'd like to work on with you and talk through a bit is, what does it look like for an organization to outsource their HR? And why is this going to be top of mind consideration for leadership teams to consider? But before we really dig into that, I really want to break it down a bit for our audience and start with recruiting. So we hear that a lot today. It's definitely been a buzzword and it's top of mind for many organizations is trying to find talent. But when we think about HR, they actually wear many different hats, and there's so many different benefits that come from having an HR team member or outsourcing your HR. There's many things that you guys can do. Can you talk to us a bit about the benefits of HR solutions and outsourcing different strategies for HR?
Sure. We cover a wide breadth and depth of HR services, and we have a pretty deep bench of experts. And the value is a company can scale for their HR needs. They can scale the expertise. Sometimes you might need a CHRO level every once in a while for a tough issue. And other times, just a business practitioner, HR business practitioner will suffice for the day-to-day. And by outsourcing, a company has availability to our highly skilled HR team, always available when you need us, as needed, or for a set number of hours a week. If it's for specific tasks or projects, short-term or ongoing, whether it's a few hours or a few months for the engagement, you choose, and it's scalable to meet your needs. And when you're ready to finally have, if you grow to where you have the need for a full-time HR person, we can then help you recruit for that right fit, because we've gotten to know what your company is like, what your culture is, what the specific skills are needed for your particular job, and we can help you find the right fit.
You mentioned projects. Can you talk about any additional tools or offerings that you guys have?
Yeah, we often do project work. So it's, one time a year perhaps that we're working with a client as they have special needs that they need to outsource. One of them right now, which is a hot topic, is compensation studies. It ties into recruitment to make sure that a company is staying at or maybe even above market, just measuring where you are. You don't know until you measure. And when you're talking to candidates, and sometimes they think their price tag is way out of league compared to what you've been paying, well, you don't know until you measure. So we help our clients and gather all of that information for them. We have special tools that we use and software to look at the data for what is your company size, where are you located, how many employees do you have, what is your revenue? What are the particular jobs? We can even take two different jobs that in some cases, you know how you wear many hats in one role, but there's not quite, it's a blend of different roles. So we can create hybrid job descriptions and run compensation for you that way to get a really true, solid analysis. So that way a company can stay competitive within today's labor market. And another special project that we do is due diligence. When a company is looking to buy another company or they're on the market to be shopped around and sold, the due diligence process can be intense. And there's the financial side that Rehmann helps companies with, but there's also the HR due diligence needs. And we can help assess HR compliance issues and employee factors that you need to know now before you're buying a company. And we can help sellers shore up their HR best practices and close any compliance gaps. So it makes the due diligence process easier for them and for the potential buyers. And when you clear away all those cobwebs and clear out any issues hiding in the shadows, it positively impacts your company's valuation in the seller's favor.
That's awesome. Now, I love that you were talking about like the team that you have in place, and reason being is I know that we also have individuals who are equipped to support even industries. So when we look at not just a general practitioner, you also have individuals on the team that are looking at industries and making sure that there are specific supports in place for those industries. Do you want to talk to that at all?
Sure. We have a very strong presence with manufacturing. All of us have worked in manufacturing environments. It's one of my, it's always in my heart for manufacturing. We also have a very strong public sector arm for those companies, and healthcare. We've even worked with cannabis companies, professional services. Whether it is an actual office site that you need us to be on site, such as in a production facility, or if a company is virtual, we can scale and meet their needs. We support our clients that are hybrid, and a majority of our clients have us work virtually for them. And it works out really well to be their outsourced HR arm when they need us, when their employees need us, and their managers get that extra support when they need it.
Oh, that's a great point. Their managers getting the extra support when they need it, especially I know that many people in small to mid-sized organizations can feel a lot of weight of wearing many hats, and knowing that there is the opportunity to take some of that weight off their shoulders and help come alongside them, I think is an extreme value and benefit to many organizations. We had talked earlier, and you had mentioned that you have some examples of where your team has worked with clients and really brought a lot of value to them. Can you speak to those examples and tell us a little bit more about those?
Sure. Well, let's start with the foundation. In HR, it does start with compliance. And what does that mean? We conduct HR assessments for companies where we go in and we take a look to see if you are following all of the regulations and state and federal laws properly and all the documentation that's needed. And we also look at your practices and then recommend, firstly, the things that need to be fixed because they are compliance errors. And when there's a compliance issue, it equals dollars and fines and violations. And then the second piece is we create best practices for recruiting, for performance evaluation, for training, and talking about particularly with compliance, you'd be surprised how many companies don't realize the difference between an employee and an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And they hire them as independent contractors, no benefits and so forth, but they're pretty much working them like employees. That is a huge IRS red flag. So we can go through that and correct those, properly classifying those employees and providing them with the benefits that they are entitled to as employees. Or conversely, if they truly want to have an independent contractor workforce, how it's properly supposed to be set up and structured. There are very specific ways to do that. So we work with a client to make sure at the end of the day that they're compliant, and we are there to help them mitigate risk.
That's awesome. Avoiding those violations with the DOL. So that's really great to hear. Did you have any other examples that you wanted to share with us?
Sure. We have clients who they have HR, but they're overwhelmed with the volume. So we can take on projects for them. And sometimes when you're in your job, you're in the weeds, you don't have time to step back and take a look at the bigger picture. And so you can use our strategists on our bench to help with that. We recently worked with a very large healthcare company, and they needed to revamp what they thought was their onboarding process. Well, back it up, it was really their entire recruitment process. We overhauled it for them, really made it streamlined and smooth, and digitized, and then went into the onboarding. What is that concierge experience, that welcoming experience for candidates who then become your employees, and making it, again, electronic, no paper, and just making it a more enjoyable experience. Let's face it, when you start a new job, there's always paperwork, and that's the not very fun for the employee or HR. But there's so much more to onboarding that companies could do. They just don't have the time to think of those creative ideas sometimes. And so we really want to help an employer create a sticky environment for those candidates, for those employees, and learn about the culture right from the beginning and how they fit in, because really fundamentally, if you listen to the employee voice, they want to belong, they want to make a difference, they want to be hooked into the purpose of a company and really contribute to that culture. Another thing that we offer, another service, is employee engagement surveys. We partner with Gallup, and so we use the Gallup Q12 questions, and then from there we analyze it to see really what are the employees asking for, and then help the companies come up with ideas and solutions to target how they can drive up their employee engagement. You'd be surprised, but nationally, employee engagement levels right now are only at 32%. So
Wow.
there's a huge impact that we can help employers make to keep those employees. It's hard enough to recruit them. It's equally as hard to keep them.
Yeah. Wow, 32%. Was that right? That was
Hmm.
the percentage. Wow. That's eye-opening to hear
Hmm.
that stat, and to see how that can affect many organizations, especially when retaining those high level or those great employees is really beneficial for the organization overall.
And
So,
Rena, the crux of that, it's really the middle managers,
mhm.
and they're the ones who impact 70% of an employee's decision to stay or go.
Wow.
And how are they equipped? Sometimes managers get put into positions and they're very busy in their jobs too. They don't really have the extra time to jump into proper interviewing skills. Are they vetting their candidates thoroughly enough? Who are you really hiring? Are you getting to know the talent enough to make sure that it is a good fit for both parties? We can provide training and coaching on that particular area. And then, are you raising your manager's EQ? Because they're the front line with your employees. And what employees are saying is the number one reason why they're leaving isn't about compensation. It isn't so much about the money. It's about feeling appreciated, feeling valued, having a purpose that they're contributing to at their company. And number one, it starts with your manager. People don't leave jobs, they're leaving their bad managers. And it's not that the managers are bad, they just may not be well equipped with the tools and resources that they need. And so that's where we can also help augment and support your managers with that. Bring them up to a level where they grow in confidence and they provide that frontline support for their employees.
Wow. So at the end of the day, when we're thinking about what needs to be top of mind when thinking about HR or how HR can support, it's a really there's strategies in place, and there's things that can be in place to help equip and support those managers who are responsible, not necessarily responsible, but can the stat of 70% of people leave because of their manager.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is a huge takeaway for all of us here today. So something to consider, that if you are looking for employee engagement or a way to continue to retain those employees, think about and consider outsourcing some of those strategies. You don't have to do it alone. Keep that top of mind and try to think about where are you at. And we are always open. And I know Elizabeth and her team are open to come in and connect with you. So if you are thinking about this, please give us a call. But thank you so much, Elizabeth, for answering our question today. We are so glad to have you as a part of this series.
Well, you're
And
welcome. Thanks for having me.
thank you all. We appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone.